All right, Karen. Good morning, people. Glad to have you here. Department and Agency Subcommittee is now in session. It's Wednesday, March 15th, in here room 2 at 9 a.m. Lisa, would you please add some flamboyancy to call and roll?
Beck, Brecken, Carringer, Chisholm, Haston, Holsclaw,
Present.
Kiesling, Littleton. Here. Chairman Holsclaw, we have a quorum.
I was thinking more about singing them versus acting like a hick. We have any personal orders, members? You are recognized, Chairman, Lady Karen.
I think how we just, thank you, Chairman. I think how we just opened this committee speaks about my devotion this morning. You never know what a smile can do and laughter for someone's day. So I think this department and committee just shares that with all.
I feel the love. So, which brings us to item number 1. And before you're recognized, Chairman Zachary, I'm going to give you some due respect. You're well dressed, well groomed, so I'm not going to rush you through this committee like we get rushed through the. We breathe in here, we enjoy things, and
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Thank you.
so you're finally dressed this morning, looking on your game today. So
Thank you, sir.
we have a motion and second. That's pretty quick. So you are now recognized, and there is no amendment, so you are ready to rock and roll.
Correct. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, this Senate Joint Resolution 127 expresses the General Assembly's support for the Americans Act that's currently in front of the United States Senate. And what that bill would do is reinstate military service members who were involuntarily removed for not taking the COVID vaccine. Be glad to take any questions.
So you didn't develop this acronym yourself? It was already established?
I'm going to have to actually give Leader Johnson credit for this. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Members, any questions? Seeing none, we're voting on SJR 127. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? You're moving on to full, young man.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
Which brings us to item number 2, HB 1247 by Powers. And we do not see him, so we're going to roll him to the hill. Which brings us to item number 3, HB 1373 by Carr. We have a motion and a second. It looks like you've got an amendment. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I have it right now, sir.
Does it make the bill?
It makes the bill.
So let's get the amendment on the bill. Did I hear a motion and a second? Okay, so we're voting on Amendment 4363. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Amendment's properly on the bill, and now you're ready to roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What this bill does, and this amendment does, it allows a applicant for professional or commercial license, and what this is for the J1s. Right now, the J1 workers, if you're 18 or over, you can be issued a permit or a certificate from the ABC that all you can do is carry the alcoholic beverage from the bar to the table. Doesn't give them right to take the order or serve it or anything, but we've been having them come back and they've been notified as not available or don't know whatever. So we're trying to correct that particular thing, and this amendment here would correct that and allow the ABC to to do that for us, especially in Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg. We need these workers. Now, if it's so desired by the committee and they accept this amendment today, I would appreciate that so we could get this on and go into the full, this amendment here. And then I would tell you that I would be bringing an amendment next week, which it's already there, that the language is cleared up a little better, and it's an amendment that the ABC likes a little better. And it's done been drafted, and I can bring it next week. And go along with this amendment here, I'll withdraw this and put the other on, but I'd like to move this on forward to full, if I may, with this amendment here. It basically does the same thing. They just like a little different language. The ABC does, so basically does the same thing. But I wanted to be up front with you on that.
We want to go out of session and hear from legal on, do you have the amendment that's redrafted? Okay, so it's not even filed yet.
What-
You're recognized.
No, sir. I got it on my desk this morning. Mr. Thomas, Mr. Russell Thomas and Aaron Rummage were in my office this morning, and we did see the differences in some of the language, so it will be tweaked for next week. Yes, sir.
So it doesn't change it, it's just the verbiage change?
The verbiage changes and as to what to do. Yes, sir.
Question I'd have on the present amendment that you brought because of the issues, how many businesses does this actually affect in Gatlinburg?
Well, it would affect any business in Gatlinburg or Pigeon Forge that use J1 workers that are of 18 years of age if they want to file and get the permit to be able to handle alcohol from the bar to the table. As of right now, you know, you have to have one that's old enough to even go to the table to take the order for the alcoholic beverage. And then it comes back and the bartender makes it up like that. All that J1 worker can do is pick it up and take it to the table, if they have that permit and are 18 years of age. If you're under 18 years of age, you cannot get the permit.
How much is this actually audited? I mean, as far as in businesses, do you know?
Well, no, sir, I can't answer that question exactly, but I do know what makes the ABC director feel better about it is because he's still, with his amendment, going to send these workers back through the SAVE program to be verified and come back again. So that's what we're going to do. We're taking care of all that again. But he says as long as they come back, then he will be able to issue the permit then.
Members, other questions, comments? You are represented, Chairman Brick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Cart, first of all, this would have statewide application, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the owners of the establishments must complete an affidavit verifying the applicable quality or standards of their workers, right? That they would be sending to ABC. Is that correct?
According to this amendment, yes, sir.
Okay.
Now, the amendment that's coming next week, or I could roll this, whatever the committee wants me to do, I was just trying to get it to full. The amendment next week rewrites that, and ABC, the ABC director, wants it to go back through the SAFE program. That way it takes it out of the person's hands to have to sign for that. They'll have to be verified through the SAVE, which goes through the Department of Homeland Security to make sure that they're legally here.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's up to the committee.
We don't have a full calendar next week, so we'll definitely get it through. So let's roll this one week and get
That's no
that
problem.
verbiage
No
on there.
problem. Thank you very much.
So without objection, we're going to roll it 1373 1 week.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thanks,
you,
sir.
committee.
Which brings us to item number 4, HB 899 by Hurt. I see him coming up through here. Looks like you got an amendment too, correct? And what's
Yes,
your
Mr.
drafting code?
I have 4439.
You are correct. So we have a motion and a second on the amendment. So we're voting on putting on 4439. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? It's properly on now. You're ready to go, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee. Members, House Bill 899 deals with farmland contracts on TWRA managed state property. What we've got is currently when there's a contract signed to farm a property, state-owned ground, and in our area it's refuges and wildlife refuges and things like that. What we've got is every 3 to 5 years, depending on when the contract is, it comes back up for bid. And what we're dealing with here is the farmers in our area, because equipment has gotten so much bigger, so much more expensive, input costs are so much more expensive. These farmers, in order to grow and handle the properties, are extending themselves to purchase the equipment to handle it. And with the shorter contracts, it makes it tough on them to really go out and try to expand and work this ground. So what we're looking to do, let me back up. As a landowner myself, I can extend any contract I want. If I have a farmer doing a good job, year to year, I can discuss and negotiate with that farmer, or, 3 years, whatever I decide to do with him, and keep a good farmer on my ground. If he maintains ditches, if he maintains fertilizer, if he does everything he's supposed to, there's a lot of outside work outside the crop that happens. So I can keep him. From the state standpoint, what we're looking at is when it comes up for bid, anybody can bid, and you don't know whether that farmer's good or bad. So we did have a situation in West Tennessee a couple of years ago where a farmer had been working some state ground for a long time. He got outbid. When he was outbid, the next grower came in and didn't do the things needed, and TWRA actually had to exercise the right to release him, and became a big problem. Then the next farmer had to come in and do all the maintenance, clean ditches, tear back tree lines, do everything they're supposed to do. So basically, this bill says if you have a 5-year contract, that TWRA has the right to negotiate at the end of that contract with that farmer to try to keep them before it goes automatically to competitive bid. And so that kind of protects the farmer, but TWRA is okay with it because they have outs also. So we're just trying to get a level playing field for the growers that work these state ground.
How's this change the current law?
Well, Mr. Chairman, right now it's a competitive bid every time the contract is up. So it goes back out, and that farmer has to rebid it and take a chance on losing the ground that they've been working for a couple of years.
Members, you are recognized, Representative Beck.
Thank you. Sponsor, you used the word growers. What are they growing?
On most of this ground, it's soybeans, corn. I don't really, if this is bottom ground that floods. So, and I say this, I'm speaking for my district. We're talking about state ground across. So it could be any kind of wheat, cotton, corn, soybeans, a lot of soybeans grown, various things like that are rotational.
Very good. Thank you.
Representative Beck, Bricken.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to get an understanding. Well, if this passes, would the contract ever be subject to being bid or not?
Representative Herb.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good question. Yes, it is up to, let me find my language here. I believe it can be renewed, the first contract can be renewed up to 3 times after the first one. So 4 total renewals of that contract before it automatically goes back to competitive bid.
So 20 years, this TWRA could contract with the same farmer for up to 20 years.
Representative Herb.
Yes, sir, that is correct. But TWRA also maintains the right to, if they're unhappy or they feel the need, if the farmer's doing a poor job or they feel the need to not negotiate, they still retain that right. They can still go out and put it out for competitive bid if they feel the need to, that grower's not doing what they feel is necessary for the property.
So just to be clear, they can opt out at any time.
At the end of those contracts, yes, sir. And even during the contract if the farmer's not meeting the obligations.
Okay.
Well, I understand where it's coming from, but it's also it seems kind of anti-competitive in that it's going to lock out farmers from bidding that might be good farmers that would like to have those contracts. So I'd like to.
Representative Herb.
Yes, sir, and understand that concern, and that's one of the things that kind of have been working on this for a couple of years, trying to see how we could work this thing to not, but I mean, in order to not lock out competitive bids, which is why we wanted to build in that the TWRA could come in, because I can, in farming and growing, sometimes more money is not always better. A lot of times the people that can pay more money are the ones that are growing really fast and they have trouble maintaining the land. So that's kind of what we're trying to balance, that issue with being able to keep a good farmer and not lose him just because he gets outbid by somebody else that may be questionable, but there are good ones out there. But in the farming communities, everybody kind of knows, and we had a situation this year where some of them came up for bid and there were some bids put in, and everybody kind of knew, hey, this could be not good for the state if it works out. Fortunately, it didn't, but it kind of prompted me to push this legislation. So that is a concern, which is why we left in there where TWRA had the discretion to put it back out there when they felt necessary.
In your defense, I'm pretty knowledgeable on this from Indiana. You have a lot of these fly-by-night guys come in, farm stuff. They don't fix fences. They don't do tile work. And then you have the other, the solid guys that do it. So I fully understand where you're going with this, and I think it's a good bill. Other questions, comments? Seeing none, we are voting on HB 899. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? You're moving on to full.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
Don't go anywhere. I think
All
you're
right,
up
I was about to
again.
roll out.
Looks like item number 5, 1091. I have a motion second. You guys are dead this morning. Looks like you got an amendment too. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
What's the drafting code you got?
5085.
Okay. You got a question? Second. So we're going to vote on putting an amendment on 5085. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Your amendment's on the bill. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee. House Bill 1091 looks to extend the no wake zone around commercial marinas from 300 feet to 500 feet. The 300-foot wake zone was established decades ago when boats were 16 to 8 feet in length and did not create substantial wake. Today, those wake boats, we've actually created specialty wake boats that create wake, much larger wake, purposely for water sports. So what we're seeing is those waves are starting to cause damage and even some personal damage at marinas because the waves maintain themselves so much longer. So this is just looking to extend that no wake zone on commercial marinas 200 feet from 300 to 500. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll take any questions.
Committee? Representative Carringer, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. And I've spoke to several on this. So we're Norris Lake people and have been for many, many years. So Norris Lake is probably, I guess, one of the biggest lakes, mileage and all in the state of Tennessee. And there's probably not as much need for anything like this. However, I do have some owners that are not on Norris, but one of our other lakes down my way. And one of them owns a marina, and the other one owns the other marina that they've got to go through one marina, through the wake and zone, and then through another one to get to his. So if the marina owner in the front decided to do this, it would really hurt the marina in the backs. So, and I know this has been put Gen Sub in the Senate, but I understand wanting to get it through. And I just wanted to get it on record that I've been assured that, nothing's going to take place this year. We'll have to, if it passes and goes on, the Senate would deal with it. But I just wanted to be on the record, I trust the ones that have brought this bill and all, and that they will continue to work with us and make sure that, TWRA just doesn't go into a marina and say, hey, I'm going to do this, because it's really our wakeboard boats, the Moomas, the Mastercraft, and the Malibus. But we have a lot of pontoon boaters like us. We've kind of gone into that pontoon stage of life. And I don't want to hurt the other boaters over just one particular boat that comes by every now and then and brings this big wave so that they can do their wakeboarding. And I used to wakeboard, so no offense to anybody. I love it all. So I just wanted to make that clarification that that we are going to continue to work with this marinas, and that marina owners all over the state of Tennessee aren't going to be forced to do something that's going to hurt their business. I realize there's a need probably in some of the marinas, or this wouldn't have been brought to you. So I just wanted to make that clear and let everyone know that they have said they will work with all of them. So thank you.
Representative Hurt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Representative, thank you for that. And I do believe that is the intention in my discussions also. So I do believe that's where we're headed.
And how will that be handled in some of, like I've got Boone Lake, which is a very narrow lake, and that 500 foot may go all the way across to this, the other bank, opposing bank. So, there's some concerns there on how some of those issues are addressed, for sure. Representative Hurt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I think that's the intention, is to look at each one and see what's best for each lake and work with them on those lakes.
Okay.
Referring back to what the previous representative was expressing.
Chair Lady Littleton, would you want to be recognized?
Well, yes, I did, but not for this question, but
Go
I know
ahead.
I'm out of order, but we have Dixon County leadership here today. So I'd like for them all to stand up, and let's give them a good round of applause, please. Thank y'all for being here, and thank y'all.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Out of order. Any other questions? Seeing none, we're voting on HB 1091. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Moves on to full, young man.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee.
Representative Chisholm, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. I know I'm out of order as well, but I tried to hold my peace, but a legend walked in.
Oh.
Our Shelby County Register of Deeds, Mr. Willie Brooks, walked in. So let's stand up and let's make him feel welcome.
I'm sure he came just to see you. Is that correct? Item number 6, HB 0594. You was hiding back there, John. I didn't even think you was here. You stand behind the pole. You dress sharp like a lawyer or something. We have a motion and a second. And it looks like we've got the Second Amendment. You want to make the bill?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, amendment code is 5176. Motion on the amendment.
We got a motion and a second. We're voting to put amendment number 2, 5176 on the bill. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? It's on the bill. So just to explain to some of them, we'd already last week accepted your first amendment. So now we're just putting the second one on to make you put it in the proper posture. So you are good to go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee, what this legislation does and what we briefly talked about last time when we were here is that there is an entertainment zone in Davis County Metro that has one of the highest, or it is, in at least the state of Tennessee, has the highest liquor by the drink consumption in the state. It rivals New Orleans, it rivals Las Vegas for what's consumed in this particular zone. And so what this legislation is doing is it's moving the regulatory piece of the businesses that's within that entertainment zone from the Beer Board of Metro to the ABC. And the reason for that is that with the amount of, at least liquor by the drink consumed, that area is becoming a hot place, which it rightfully should. It attracts folks to the downtown area, and what the ABC will be able to provide is higher regulatory enforcement of any type of violations, because their officers are commissioned and they can actually arrest, they can actually confiscate things that are happening in this area, where their beer board is a civilian mode of enforcement where they would have to call the police and call any other agencies to come out, and that takes time to do that. So that's what this legislation does. And in last week, it was a little bit, the language was a little bit too broad, that it didn't particularly connect or apply to this zone. That's what this amendment does, that it only applies to the entertainment zone in Metro, which is the Broadway area, a couple of blocks north and a couple of blocks south. So that's what the amendment does, as I described last week. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Questions, comments? Representative or Chair Lady Carringer, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Representative, I wanted to clarify, I understand that there were businesses that actually have asked for this to be done.
Representative Garrett?
Yes, there's been multiple business owners that are supporting this piece of legislation to be under the authority of the ABC, because it provides better public safety for the area.
And also ABC is also good with it, correct?
Representative Garrett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, they are.
Okay. Yes, I'm going to support this bill because, frankly, that's just amazes me, the statistics there of the alcohol, that we could top those places that you mentioned. So I just wanted to make it clear that, businesses have come and asked for this and wanted ABC to do this. And the businesses are the ones that really, if something happens or goes wrong and all, they're the ones that are going to be brought into the lawsuit. So I appreciate that they're being proactive on this and seeing that there's a need for it. So thank you for bringing it.
Representative Beck.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, thank the sponsor for this amendment, much more definition as to where we're going, and and thank you also for speaking to some stakeholders. I know that at first it was just one business owner, and now you've reached to many business owners in the area, and I thank you for that. Mr. Chairman, I think we've got some speakers here on this bill from the Beer Board, which this affects, and I'd ask that we go out of session and hear from them.
Okay. Without objection, we'll go out of session, and we've got Benton McDonald, Brian Taylor. You all here? Come on up. Yes. And just sit down there at the thing and state your name and who you're with, and each of you will have 3 minutes to tell us what you think.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of this committee. Thank you for this opportunity to speak on regarding
state your name on it.
I'm sorry, I was actually getting to that part, but my name is Benton McDonough, and I am the executive director of the Metro Beer Board, and have been since 2017.
How many members make up the Beer Board?
7.
Okay.
Well, are you talking about board members or employees?
Board members.
Board member 7. Yes,
Okay.
sir. Thank you for this opportunity to speak on behalf of the Beer Board and the impact of House Bill 594. Upon taking this position back in 2017, I learned about a bill that would have circumvented our application process, and this came about due to our department being poorly run administratively under the previous director. I'm proud to say that bill was withdrawn after my team and I worked diligently to improve our processes and procedures upon listening to the needs of our industry. We are firm but fair as a regulatory agency, and we attempt to be flexible in how we provide services such as inspections to our applicants. In 2020, like many, we confronted a deadly tornado followed by the pandemic. In response to the needs of our permit holders, we were first in the state to create the delivery and curbside permits. This saved countless businesses during the pandemic. And a few years later, in response to party buses being out of control, we created mobile beer permits to address public safety needs in and around the CBID. We are a local agency with an innovative approach to everything that we do on a daily basis. In fact, we have moved away from citing our permit holders for minor offenses, and now we focus instead on underage compliance. Prior to my time as director, the board checked only about 10% of our permit holders annually. We now have a program in place to more equitably guarantee each permit holder receives at least one compliance check on an annual basis. We also conduct regulatory checks simultaneously at the same time to minimize any imposition on their business. Many have commented on our relationship with the industry. Many are impressed by our ability to regulate while also listening to and responding to the needs of our permit holders. We currently have concurrent oversight responsibilities alongside the ABC within the CBID, and removing the Beer Board's authority in this district will not improve public safety, but may very well harm these businesses in the end. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you. State your name.
Is this on?
Is that
I
can you
believe,
hear
I
me
believe,
okay?
it- I believe we
You
can hear
me,
you.
but okay. All right. Good morning. My name is Brian Taylor. Thank you for the opportunity to come speak to you. I've been on the Metro Beer Board for probably 15 years. I am the one that pushed to hire Mr. McDonough, so his history is very accurate. And the first thing I said to Mr. McDonough when we hired him is I was tired of getting calls at 9 o'clock, at 10 o'clock at night from bar owners, many downtown, many across the county, that simply stated their unhappiness and inability to work with this board in Nashville, where they were getting no cooperation, no guidance, no help with just getting their business open. And I told him, I said, if I get those calls when you're here, you won't be here long. I'm tired of getting them. We need to be a board that works with our small businesses, and small is relative because a lot of the honky tonks downtown, if you will, are in small buildings but generate a ton of tax revenue for all of us, right? So I would respectfully disagree with some of the comments that were made regarding a lot of bars downtown want this. Because I'll tell you, for every one bar that says they want this, I'll give you 3 that don't, or that are going to be very indifferent, and simply because of this. Over the years, previously, the beer board was very, very difficult to deal with. We have changed that dynamic across the county, particularly with the honky tonks downtown, because we cooperate with them. We have conversations with them. I've been, again, on the beer board for 15 years. I've been a member of the downtown district, the Merchants Association downtown for the most part of the last 20 years. So I know all these honky-tonk owners. The genesis of this bill is really an axe grinding with one bar owner and his issues with the current mayor. And that's unfortunate. And no bar owner downtown or anywhere across the county wants more regulation. But I would agree with the director that less regulation is not good, considering the time that we're in when you've got a Broadway Entertainment Association, whatever the organization is called, that is investing their dollars, their private dollars, to create additional task force downtown with all the, I jokingly say, all the nightmare that our city has grown to create downtown and all the havoc that comes with having 7 million visitors visit downtown, considering I'm just using 50% of the 14 million visitors that we have in Nashville every year, half come downtown. And the goal here is immediate impact, action, and we, as the beer board, would work with those organizations versus being, combative with them. The gentleman that spoke earlier is correct. We are only a civil action. We're not a criminal action. Criminal action is not always the best case.
I hate to interrupt you, but you're a little beyond your 3
right.
minutes. But
Very well.
we appreciate your
I'm
comment.
happy to answer questions.
Okay.
Should
Representative Beck, you are recognized.
Thank you. And Ben and Brian, thank y'all for being here today. Transportainment has been a big problem in Nashville. And I understand that the council has passed a bill limiting the number of pedal taverns and other hot tubs on wheels and all these entertainment venues on wheels. You guys regulate them, is that correct?
Correct.
How would this bill affect your ability, if it's passed, how would this bill affect your ability to regulate transportainment?
This particular bill would not affect that because they do not have liquor on board. They specifically have beer permits on board, so we would still be able to regulate those entities.
Very good. Second of all, we, at this point in time, you have 2, if you're a downtown honky tonk, you've got 2 licenses, an ABC license and a beer board license, correct?
Correct, yes, sir.
And I've actually been in establishments that have had their ABC license suspended. So under this bill, if a honky-tonk has a sting and they get their license suspended, they would lose both the ability to sell beer and liquor. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And that's an excellent point, because the ABC already has jurisdiction downtown. It's not as if this bill takes jurisdiction away from us and gives it to them. They already have that, and they're already down there now. So I don't see how removing the beer board from that would improve public safety in that case.
Matter of fact, my phone lit up on CMA week a couple of years ago when they did a sting during CMA week and had a lot of violations up and down the street when millions of people were here.
Yes, sir.
Last question is fines. Can you give me a comparative as to a ABC fine and a beer board fine?
I can't speak specifically to the ABC. What I can tell you about the beer board is that if there is an underage sale, then the board has the authority to assess up to a $2,500 civil penalty for each violation.
And to add to that, it's my understanding that the ABC ability is much greater than $2,500. They're not statutorily limited, not to that level anyway.
Right, that's correct. It's much higher.
Where does that money go once you issue that fine? What's that money tagged to do?
Any money that comes into the beer board goes to the general fund for Metro, so it doesn't come back to the beer board directly. That way, it does go to Metro.
Okay.
Thank you very much for being here, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Other questions? Thank you, gentlemen, for coming and giving testimony. We'll go back in session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're back to you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may have just a couple of comments to the testimony there. One, he mentioned last week there was one bar owner, and I would surmise I know who they're referring to, and that's the extent that I know that person. If he walked into this committee room, I wouldn't know who he is. I've not been in contact with that particular person. So this isn't limited to just one particular owner or proprietor in this particular area. So I just want to make sure that was clear. And another thing that their testimony, I believe, emboldens the reason for this legislation is that the ABC right now is currently fourth in the country for how many folks of their license they check. And if I heard correctly, the beer board can check 10% of their licenses under this small area. The ABC checks 52% of their licenses here in the state of Tennessee. So that's going to help to make sure that if we have a violation, with the ABC being fourth in the country of when they check each license that has a liquor license here, that means that the ABC can help their beer board enforce their own violations and be able to. So it's not more regulation whatsoever. It's enforcing the current regulations that we have now. So we're not imposing any more restrictions by any means on the entertainment zone that, if I heard them, has 7 million visitors here. So when I went to the UT game last week and the streets were packed with people, And if there is a serious issue and this legislation happens to pass, they have the authority, the same as an officer, Mr. Chairman and committee, to do what is right, to correct any violation right then and there, instead of waiting for the police to show up or whatever the case may be, to delay a response to a potential violation. So I would say with that record of our ABC and that they're willing to do it, and there's more owners than just one, I think this legislation is more than necessary for public safety purposes. in this area.
Now, as far as the fine issue by ABC, where's that money go, or how's that?
It would be if the ABC would collect the fine, and it would go to the cost of enforcement. Currently, right now, they don't need any new agents because they have plenty of staff. That staff was increased due to COVID because of the drive-through how you could pick up liquor by the drink in the drive-thru in the COVID era. That, I believe, has sunsetted, so that's not going to be something that I think is going to continue forever and ever. And so that same staff will be able to handle the increased potential in calls they may get for this particular purpose.
Okay. Representative Beck, you are recognized.
Very quickly, I just wanted to correct your statement about the testimony of the beer board. The executive director testified that when he came in 2017, they were only doing 10% of their licensees. Now they do at least one a year. So I just wanted to correct your statement on the record. You must have heard it wrong, but that's what his testimony was. Thank you.
Other questions? Seeing none, we're voting on HB 594. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. You're moving on full, young man.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee.
Looks like item number 7, HB 1125's off notice. And item number 8, HB 446 is rolled 1 week. And that brings us back to item number 2. We have a motion and a second, and it's HB 1247. Looks like you've also got an amendment. We have a motion and a second. The amendment makes the bill. Is that correct?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, the amendment just actually makes a few exemptions to it. I'll be glad to explain the bill and the amendment separately then.
Okay.
Okay. First of all, the bill, and thank you, by the way, for taking me up. I kept moving around so you noticed me, and I appreciate you all having me up here, though.
Well, you tried to hide up here in committee.
Sorry I was late. But the explanation of the bill creates a law which states that illegal aliens cannot be housed on real property owned by the state or a political subdivision of the state. The state may withhold state funds from any entity that is in violation. The amendment will actually exempt illegal aliens from being housed on government property if it's in a hospital, a correctional institution, in custody or guardianship in children's services, or at a special school operated by the Department of Education. So I've worked with all of those departments to make sure that they would not be penalized in any way and to make them exempt. And so with that, I renew my motion and be glad to take any questions.
So let's go ahead and vote on the amendment, which is drafting code 4598. Got a motion, second. So we're voting on 4598. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? So your amendment's on the bill, and do we have questions for this gentleman? Seeing none, we are voting on. We've got somebody that would like to give testimony. Okay, we'll go out of session and we'll give you 3 minutes and state your name for the record. You give testimony here, so I know you know how to use that thing.
It's like, getting every one of them's a little slightly different, though. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Stephen Puckett. I'm a resident of Hendersonville, Tennessee, and I am speaking in opposition of this legislation in a tentative nature. In fact, I'm going to start out by actually thanking the sponsor for bringing the amendment to provide some exemptions to this. Because the main issue is that when illegal immigrants or undocumented individuals are in our communities, there are different situations where local government may have to house them, such as rape crisis centers that are housed on government property, domestic violence rescue centers on. And so the exemptions help a little bit. Hopefully, between now and full, maybe the sponsor could work with some other stakeholders, or at the very least, maybe send this to TASER to give it a full vetting to ensure that we don't unintentionally feed the culture of silence that actually brings immigrants into our community. Because the problem we have is that is not really immigrants just running across the border with a grin on their face, but it's actually an import problem where individuals are being literally imported in as through labor trafficking and things like that to be exploited and taken advantage of. And so that's the concern I have, and hopefully we can get that corrected. Thank you.
Thank you for testimony. We have questions for him. Seeing none, we're going to go back in session. And without any questions, seeing none, we're voting on HB 1247. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. You're going on to full.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee.
That completes the calendar. Without objection, we will adjourn. Seeing none, we are adjourned.